to the Eastern Conference because Boston, Atlanta, and Brooklyn are finalizing a 3-team trade that sends Kristaps Porzingis and a second-round pick to the Hawks, Terrence Mann and Atlanta's number 22 pick to the Nets, and George Niang, and a second-rounder to the Celtics. Porzingis spent 2 seasons in Boston, winning the title in 2024. So, Shams, Boston has now moved on from Drew Holiday, Kristaps Porzingis, players that were huge parts of their championship team. What else can we expect from them this offseason?
The Celtics are still in the first apron, still in the luxury tax, dealing with the uncertainty of Jason Tatum. Will he or will he not play next season? So their phone lines are still ringing on Jaylen Brown and Derek White. We know these are key contributors to championship team there in Boston, and so they've got a very high price threshold for both of those players. So if someone blows them away, you have to listen on that. And so unless someone does that, their preference is to keep both Jaylen Brown and Derek White. But listen, teams are calling right now feverishly, trying to get their hands on one of these two guys. But again, the preference is to keep them.
I don't know if people understand the magnitude of what you're saying, Sean.
It's kind of crazy.
Because a year ago, we were talking about the Celtics being the team that could potentially be a dynasty and repeat. An unfortunate injury to Jason Tatum. Now calls on Jaylen Brown, who's supposed to help hold and patch in those gaps, and even Derek White, again, an Olympian. This, to me, is wild. So I want to ask you, Shams, what does this say about the NBA? Because we're seeing a lot of teams restructuring, no longer big threes, top-heavy teams. Now you're seeing teams realize that they can only literally afford to pay 1 or 2 players, and then now we have this championship reset where 7 different teams have been champions the last 7 years.
It's challenging sustainability, and it's also challenging. Listen, if you can win a championship or compete for a championship year after year after year, you stay in these aprons. You stay in the first apron, you stay in the second apron. But the moment that you struggle, or the moment, like in this situation, they have a lot up in the air next season and potentially beyond. And so it's unbelievably hard to stay in the second apron or the first apron under those conditions. But listen, in a lot of ways, they got their work done this week. They got out of the second apron. They shed $180 million. How far do they want to go with this?
One more follow-up question. Do you think that they're still taking this competitive mindset, like the East is wide open? Even though we make these changes, we have the expectation that we can still come out even without Jason Tatum.
I think something of a gap year. I think it's something of a retooling year. You bring some youth in. You're clearly mix and matching there. I mean, they don't have a center, really. They have Neemias Queta at center, so they don't have much depth there. Al Horford, free agent. Luke Kornet's a free agent. So they have a lot of questions on this roster.
That's what it feels like, for sure, Danny.
And it sounds like they got to, what Shanae is saying, you got to build your team through the draft in order to keep everybody around for a long time. Because if you don't, getting these free agents is going to cost too much money. So it's going to be interesting what team actually makes that leap and says, we're going to build through the draft and find our big 3 that way, like a Golden State or Oklahoma City did.
Okay, yeah, definitely all eyes on Boston for that. Shams, I know you also have some news out of Houston.
So Fred VanVleet, their soon-to-be free agent guard, he's actually reached an agreement to sign a 2-year, $50 million contract to stay in Houston. He's got a player option in the second year of that deal. He's a veteran leader on this team, and I expect this not only for the next 2 years, but several years to come. He's going to be in Houston for the foreseeable future. There's a long-standing partnership there right now building between Tillman Fertitta, the ownership group there, and Fred VanVleet. They valued him. So think about what the Rockets have done in an 11-day span. Give Steven Adams a 3-year, $39 million extension. Then you give Ime Udoka a big 8-figure annual extension. Then you make the blockbuster acquisition of Kevin Durant, and now today reached agreement with Fred VanVleet. They've shored up their team. They've shored up their depth. A couple more moves I expect them to make on the bench to get some wing help. But this is a team that is primed to try to compete for a championship.
Today, H-Town, what are we doing, sis? How we feeling?
So when he started his statement, I've got some news from Houston. That's how I've been feeling the last 2 weeks. Heart palpitations. But guess what? On the other side of his sentence was great news. This is a team that, I might be a little bit biased, friends, but it feels like they've already, in the short 11-day span, won in some ways the offseason. You get Kevin Durant to fill your biggest need. This is a guy who was best in the NBA in jumpers, best in the NBA when it comes to off the dribble, in that type of circumstance outside of 3. And if you think about it, the Rockets were 27th, 24th, 22nd in half-court offense. He fills that need. Then you have the coach that's locked in who was getting some inquiries from the Knicks. They said, no, not today, okay? And then you retain your core. Alperen Sengun, Jabari Smith Jr., Reed Shepherd, and my favorite player, Amen Thompson. The Rockets are winning, well, metaphorically right now. I would love to see how they start winning on the court as well.
Yeah, with the absence or the letting go of Dillon Brooks, this was very imminent to bring back Fred VanVleet. You needed some more leadership in that locker room. Obviously, Ime is a very good coach and a good leader. Dillon was, you lost him, Fred was, but you needed to retain him. You need some more. KD obviously coming in, he wants to hoop. He can be a leader, but I think he just wants to just take a back seat and not have to do that. So you need some leadership, some veteranship. Obviously need depth, some three-point shooting, and some wing help. But this is a great start for their offseason.
Yeah, it makes the Western Conference even more interesting.
A lot more, please.
Shams, you're leaving us. You have a long day ahead of you.
I'll be on standby.
Okay,
I'll be on standby.
Phone is ringing over there.
All right, we'll see you a little bit later. Irving declined his $43 million player option and now intends to sign a 3-year, $119 million contract with the franchise. Irving averaged 24 points, 4.8 rebounds, and 4 assists last season before his season-ending ACL tear in his left knee in March. Shams, what more can you tell us about this deal?
This could have went a couple of different ways. This could have went Kyrie Irving opting into his contract, and that would have left a lot of questions about his long-term future without that long-term deal. But he gets this 3-year, $119 million deal done, and I spoke to Kyrie Irving last night, and he told me the level of commitment both sides have in each other, the fact that he feels like he can build a legacy in Dallas. We know it was a tumultuous ending for him in Brooklyn. He feels like he can build something there in Dallas, and also, at the end of the day, his belief in this Mavericks team, soon to be #1 overall pick Cooper Flagg, Anthony Davis, Jason Kidd, Nico Harrison, Mark Cuban. He believes this team, when he's healthy, back in January, February, potentially, they have a chance to compete for a championship, and that's why he resigns.
So, Danny, Sham just mentioned all those pieces that the Mavs have. How dangerous can this team be?
Very. I mean, their front court, the back court with Clay, and Kyrie, but I love the setup that they have. If they can stay healthy, they'll be a big problem in the West. Anthony Davis, PJ Washington, we're going to see what they're going to do with the bigs. I think Cooper Flagg has a chance to come in right away and not have so much pressure on him. He come in, be a role player, adapt, learn behind those guys, and also kill at the same time because he's not a focus point on the offensive end, and he can just be what he does. He plays really hard. That's one of his skills. So he can come in, learn from those guys, be a skillful role player, and learn as he's going. And this team could be the top team in the West if they stay healthy.
Now, Danny, what's interesting, you mentioned the top team in the West. Right now, to me, it's a tier of one. Oklahoma City Thunder trying to repeat, best defense in the NBA. A lot of young talent. I mean, their core, their star players, their big three are all 27 years or younger. But in that second tier of those trying to knock down the Thunder, I put the Dallas Mavericks there, especially when healthy, when Kyrie Irving comes back.
Still got Houston Rockets, too.
I know, but I feel like I need to see. We've seen more of Dallas. We haven't really seen this KD version of the Rockets. But if you think about Cooper coming in, I mean, the position works because you already have the front court loaded with the extensions, and then the back court, you have the savvy shooting and ball handling. You need a rangy, long forward wing, and he fits that perfectly. Someone that will grind and get you buckets. But, like, let's be real here. I felt for Dallas fans.
Yeah, I was really going to say, last March.
I'm from Houston. It's hard for me to feel for a team, but I started feeling
it was
for Dallas.
Rough for him at the end.
It was rough.
Really rough.
But what Cooper brings is exactly what Nico was talking about. He kept saying the word during the most controversial time when Luka exited, culture builder, culture builder. This is someone, why are you laughing?
Maybe he knew something. He got conveniently lucky.
He is very lucky. Luck is where preparation meets opportunity,
there
right?
You go.
And they fought hard to the end of the season, and they still got the right opportunity.
Got rewarded for
But if you think about it, Cooper Flagg, having that work ethic, the same as the vets that he plays around, also the talent, this is a team that could be in that second tier.
A side note, this extension that Kyrie Irving is signing, this gives Dallas the ability to use the taxpayer mid-level exception. Which player are they going to sign to replace him essentially for half the season? Is it going to be Chris Paul, D'Angelo Russell, Malcolm Brogdon? Those are three names to keep an eye on.
Because Kyrie likely won't be back on the court until January, correct?
January, February.